A new week, a new paycheck, a new comic haul. Let's check out what I got this time. Hey everyone, it's vmcampos, comic book fan. I dropped by the local comic shop and picked up a few cool items. First up here is The World of Krypton #1 from DC Comics. This one is actually a free book to get you hyped up for the new Krypton TV show coming out on Sci-Fi. I couldn't resist the price, but I also really like the cover. It's a very well drawn, sort of painted cover where I think the actors are depicted very well. Another DC book here, Gotham City Brigade #11. Enter Lobo. I have not been reading this book, and the only reason I got this book is because it's got Lobo, the main man. Lobo is one of my favorite comic book characters of all, and I read his book pretty religiously in 1993 to like 1996. I really like that bastich. So let's see what he's up to in this series. Got some Star Wars books. Here's Star Wars Forces of Destiny, Leia. This is from IDW. I got cover B. I really like the art in cover B. It's cartoony but recognizable, very enjoyable. As a matter of fact, I then also picked up Forces of Destiny Rey, cover B, same artist. I think the artist is depicting these characters really well. Cool sense of motion, contrasted with her staff. And Star Wars Forces of Destiny, Rose and Paige. So we get a little backstory on their story. I think I like Rose's hair a little better in the movie, but can't wait to see what the story is about. Over on Marvel, I got Silver Sable #36. This is a legacy book, so it's continuing the numbering from back in the day, back in the 90s, in Silver Sable's last book. This is the variant edition that has her stats and such. Real name, Silver Sablinova. Fighting skills are quite advanced. So technically Silver Sable and the Wild Pack. That's what was the name of her comic. I have #1 from back in the day. Oh, and guess what? It has a silver foil cover. Ah, the 90s. So another book from back in the day, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, #300. Wow. So I was reading comics back in the late 80s, early 90s, the most hardcore, and I was reading Spider-Man. I have Amazing Spider-Man #300, and I was also reading Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man, which became Peter Parker, Spider-Man. And now with the legacy numbering, this classic book picks up again with issue 300. This is the regular cover. There's a lot of variant covers, of course. It's the plain old cover. I wanted to also get 301 of Spectacular Spider-Man. This begins Amazing Fantasy Part 1. I really like this cover a lot. It reminds me of a Spider-Gwen cover because it's so luminous and bright. Great pose right there. A lot of action. Sense of vertigo and movement. The Comic Book History of Comics, manga, #3 by IDW. This has been a really good book, really enjoyable. If you like comics, you owe it to yourself to learn a little bit about the history of comics. And here's a great book, a great comic book that teaches you about comics and their history. This is volume 2, where they're starting to talk about graphic novels. And here, obviously, they cover Japanese manga. Japanese comics. Just for a lark, I picked up Sea of Thieves from Titan Comics, #1. I don't know anything about this book at all. The art stood out to me. It caught my attention, the sense of movement, pirates raiding at you. And I think just because I'm playing a lot of Magic recently, and with the recent Ixalan set, there's a bunch of pirates in there. Pirates caught my attention. I doubt there will be dinosaurs. But I'm going to give this a shot. I like the art. It's cartoony, Pirate captain coming right at you. Don't mess with her. Another thing that caught my attention for the WTF factor, Vampironica #1, First Blood. This is from Archie Horror, with Greg Smallwood and Meg Smallwood. I don't know anything about this book at all. This cover simply stood out to me. This is the regular cover. There's a Francavilla cover that also stood out, but I got this one. And just out of the curiosity here, when Veronica is bitten by a centuries-old vampire, her thirst for blood threatens to turn Riverdale into a haven for the undead. Will she put an end to the vampire threat or give in to her bloodlust? So don't tell me that doesn't get you enticed to read Vampironica #1. And lastly, momentous issue, Action Comics number 999. To my knowledge, the only American comic that has ever reached 999 issues. Well, sort of, there's a bunch of other books if you look at the history of comics. Well, anyway, the first DC Comics comic that has ever reached 999 issues. The Fury of General Lane. So one of the sub-things that I collect is repeating digit comic books. So I have various comic books of issue number 111, 222, 333. And I've had an issue 999, but that was a 2000 AD, which is a British comic. So now my collection is complete because I have 111, 222, 333, 999 in American comics. And then, of course, issue 1000. And then I gotta get 1001. And then 1010, right? 1010. Wow. So recapping my comic haul, Action Comics number 999 from DC Comics. Vampironica #1 from Archie. Sea of Thieves #1 from Titan Comics. The 4-color comic book History of Comics from IDW #3. Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man #301 from Marvel Comics. Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man #300 from Marvel Comics. Silver Sable and the Wild Pack #36 from Marvel Comics. Star Wars Forces of Destiny, Rose and Paige #1 from IDW. Star Wars Forces of Destiny, Rey #1 from IDW. Star Wars Forces of Destiny, Leia #1 from IDW. Gotham City Garage #11 from DC Comics. And the World of Krypton #1 from DC Comics. So what do you think? Find anything you like? Which of these are you most excited about reading? What about the covers? A lot of good ones to choose from. If you like this video and all my other videos about comic books, magic cards, and the like, don't forget to subscribe or contribute over on my Patreon, patreon.com/vmcampos. With as little as $1 a month, you keep me funded, making great videos about all the stuff you love. I think it's worth it. This has been VM Campos. See you next time.